Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about chapter 25 of the Tao Te Ching. This one's called The Natural Order. Again, the translation is a bit interesting because, I'll read it first and then we'll get into why it's interesting. But here we go. Natural order. There is something born of chaos, created before heaven and earth. Voiceless, formless, it stands alone, unchanging. Ceaselessly circling, the mother of creation, I do not know its name. But, conscious of my temerity, I call it the Tao. Conscious of my temerity, I call it great. Calling it great is also to say it is in motion. Saying it is in motion is to say it travels far. To say it travels far is to say it returns to itself. Thus the Tao is great, heaven is great, earth is great, mankind is great. Within the universe, there are four greats, and mankind is one of them. Mankind is governed by earth. Earth is governed by heaven. Heaven is governed by the Tao, and the Tao is governed by the natural order. So, maybe you caught that last line and why this translation can be somewhat controversial in the Taoist world. But the Tao is governed by the natural order. So, sometimes we like to think of Tao as the universe, as everything around us, as energy itself. And this chapter doesn't necessarily muddy the water, but it's an interesting idea that is there something beyond the universe? Is there something that governs these principles of the universe? You know, for example, gravity is a law. There's the law of gravity. There's this idea that physicists have come up with that if enough mass gets together, it creates this gravitational force. And there's lots of theories about how gravity works. Does it work in waves? Is it just a steady magnetic force? There's lots of ideas behind it. But at the end of the world, at the end of the whole day, in the universe, is gravity something that is part of the natural order? So no matter what universe you're in, no matter what, is gravity a constant? And so you can kind of think of like the natural order or the way these things work as like the underlying rules that we all play by, that the universe plays by no matter what. And even the other universes, if there are such things, play by the same rules. And in which case, the Tao, or the universe, the energy that flows through all of us and that we simply interact with, maybe there are rules that govern this idea, govern this energy, that keep it constant, keep it regular, keep it in balance with the universe, with nature, with everything. So that's like the controversy of it anyway. It's quite interesting. And so basically this chapter is talking about this natural order or the way of things or a hierarchy. A lot of our societies are run by hierarchies where we determine this religious person will have the authority, and that's a theocracy. Or maybe we'll make this person king because their ancestors won a bunch of battles, and then you have a monarchy. And so that kind of hierarchy helps discern who is in charge, who makes decisions, whose responsibility it is to maintain society in its current form. In many of our societies today, we elect our leaders in a democracy. And so the hierarchy goes the prime minister or the president, and then his elected officials, and the Congress or the parliament, and it goes on and on and on. And it helps us determine, you know, the pecking order, or who establishes new rules, who gets rid of the old ones, who, you know, creates this. And so hierarchy is a really natural thing. You can see the food hierarchy, or the, what do they call it? The predator hierarchy in nature, where maybe you have the apex predator is the mountain lion, who then hunts the deer, and the deer go after the grass, and so on and so forth. And so you have these hierarchies of determining the way of things, the natural order of things. And in Taoism, we talk about the four greats. So like it was said, mankind, earth, heaven, and the Tao. Don't get confused with the idea of heaven. If you're a religious person, by all means, interpret the word heaven the way that you would interpret it in your religious text. If you're a Christian, interpret it that way if you so choose. I don't strictly follow the Christian religion. I take a lot of the good from it. I leave a lot of the things that I don't believe in. So when they talk about heaven in this regard, when Taoism talks about heaven, I personally like to think of it as, the energy that is unseen in our daily lives, the unseen magic that exists in our world. Feel free to see it that way if you so choose, but it doesn't have to be your typical Christian heaven with Jesus waiting at the pearly gates for you. It sure can be, though. It's totally up to you. Earth, obviously, the earth that we live on, we are sort of governed by this thing. Earth is our primary caretaker. It is the thing in charge. Whether we like to think that we, have all the nuclear weapons and that we're in charge, that's a cute little joke. The earth is the thing that's in charge. If the earth wants to get rid of us, it could do it overnight. And we should never forget that we are innately beholden to the earth, its ecosystem, its climate, the delicate balance between nature and humanity. Humanity comes second, and that's really hard for humans because we like to put ourselves first, but that's not the case. So mankind is great. That's the first thing. That's what it says. Mankind is great. We are pretty amazing. We often look at the bad of humanity, but in general, humans try to make better things. We try to encourage and innovate and grow. We try to protect the things we love. We try to protect the people we love. And so humanity, mankind, whatever you want to call it, is great. It is governed by Earth, which is also great. Beautiful place. If you've ever seen a sunrise or a sunset, you know that the earth is a beautiful place to be. We are so lucky to inhabit it, and we should really cherish and protect it. Heaven is great. Whatever your belief system is, whatever your structure for belief is, whether it is looking at that magic of the sunset and realizing, man, I am so fortunate to be in this place. Maybe a close relative of yours passes away and they help you find a parking spot in the grocery store every day, or a song comes on and you remember them and you think about them, and then you just get this sense that their presence is here with you in the car. That can be your heaven, and that feeling is amazing. The feeling of being inside a cathedral when the organ starts playing and the light comes in and the stained glass windows illuminate. I've been in that situation, and it's amazing. That awe-inspiring joy of something greater than yourself, that is heaven to me, and that is great. And if your version of heaven is something different and you have your own experience to draw into it and to put into it, all the power to you. That is what heaven should be. It should be this great, inspiring thing that makes you feel lifted up and empowered. Amazing. Finally, heaven is governed by the Tao. No matter what your religion is, no matter what your faith is, hopefully you believe in the universe. You believe in this cosmic thing that is far greater than just us on Earth. It extends to life on other planets, if that should exist. It extends to the solar systems, to the supermassive black holes, the supernovas, the constellations, and the other galaxies that inhabit this entire universe. And all of that is governed by the Tao, by this energy. You don't have to call it the Tao, you can call it whatever you want, but in Taoism, we've named it the Tao, and it helps us describe this universal thing that is far greater than just us as a species, or us as a planet, or us as a solar system. It describes multiple things, and it is so vast and big, but it's again, I've had a struggle describing the Tao since day one, and that's very typical of someone, if you ask a Taoist, what is Tao? Oftentimes you'll hear something like, oh, it's energy, it's this universal thing that binds us all together, it is consciousness, it is the life-giving abilities of water and sunlight, it is everything and nothing at the same time. That is what Tao is. And finally, in the last line, which I just wanted you to know is a little controversial, and some people debate it. The Tao is governed by the natural order. So even the Tao, even this universal energy, has these innate properties to it that cause it to do what it does. And maybe those things are time. Maybe we don't know this, but maybe the Tao works the same way we do. We go from A to B. We go from this time lineation. We don't know, maybe the Tao can go back in time. Maybe it can move through all these areas. Maybe the energy that surrounds this kind of stuff can traverse multiple dimensions, multiple things. But essentially the natural order is this catch-all term for everything that we yet do not understand, for things that we have no concept of. I really like this explanation of how you can explain something that you can't understand. And it goes like this. So if I draw a dot on a piece of paper, that single dot, let's just imagine it's the tip of my finger. That single dot exists in one dimension, right? It just exists in this one XYZ position. If I draw a line, this is the line, it goes from A to B. Suddenly it's multidimensional or two-dimensional because it goes from point A, the tip of my finger, to point B, the base of my finger. If I draw a cube, that cube suddenly, or if I have a cube, it has 3 dimensions to it. It has an X, a Y, and a Z axis, and it can be manipulated, it can be moved, it can do all of these things. I like to think of us as living in the 4th dimension because we're 3-dimensional objects, but we also move through time. And that ability to move through time from the moment you are born to the moment you die is something that a 3-dimensional object couldn't really explain. Now, what is to say that there aren't things, whether they are creatures or entities or energy or whatever, that exists in this 5th dimension or 6th dimension where we have no ability to perceive it? And maybe it is the energy of our consciousness when we die. Maybe it leaves our body and becomes something further. And this is like a very well-established concept. This is certainly not something that I've invented. But if I were to try and explain to a line or a cube that there are these other dimensions, if I tried to explain time to a cube, to a 3-dimensional object with no consciousness, I wouldn't get very far because the cube has no ability to perceive anything above it in the dimensional spectrum of stuff. So what is to say that us living in the 4th or 5th dimension, depending on, how you believe in physics, what is to say that we cannot perceive and understand things in that higher dimension? And maybe this is what the natural order is talking about. Maybe this is this idea that there is something that governs the Tao and it is far beyond what we can perceive. Maybe it's just living in the 6th or the 8th or the 12th dimension, and we don't have the senses and the perception to pick that thing up. I don't know. It's food for thought. So that's all I'm going to say today. That was chapter 25 of the Tao Te Ching, the natural order. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave your comments, your questions, your ideas behind this interesting passage. If you have a different translation, let me know what the last line is. Does it talk about the Tao being governed by the natural order? Some of them don't. Some of them completely omit that. I think James Trapp, who did the translation for this book, decided to put it in, and I think it's an interesting, thought-provoking idea. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a beautiful day, week, month, year, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. And as always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.